So we don't have to move to Quebec.
We can stay right here.
We can, which is good. I like our
wonderful
apartment. It's a cute apartment.
The west side of Los Angeles.
Everything's right in the world.
Everything's right in the world.
Yet again. Oh, I love. Also, look at our political garb. Look at us
know.
representing the country.
Today.
Yes.
God bless America.
God bless America's great decision making.
I cried at the news for 4 days straight.
Hey. What is this feeling so sudden and new? Because this is, I feel joy. It's like it has lifted out of me. Because like I feel like in the back of our minds since the 2016 trauma that was.
The back, girl. The front of my mind.
I mean the front, but like for the 4 years.
Yes.
For the 4 years, it's always been the back. And moving towards the front as we grew closer and closer to the 2020 election. And this week.
Do we introduce ourselves?
Oh, let's do it. Let's introduce ourselves.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to a thrilling episode of Two Gay Mats. It's Matt Steele.
And it's Matt Palmer.
And in case you weren't aware, in the US of A, there was a big election.
Yeah. Yes.
Where it was called just now, or like a few hours ago, that Joe Biden has defeated the other guy.
Yes, we don't know her.
We don't know her. We will never know of her
Never again.
She's just gone, evaporated into thin air.
The president-elect Joe Biden and the vice president-elect Kamala Harris have won the election officially. And I mean, I guess. Well, we watched this together the first night, assuming we, of course, kind of knew that this was not going to be decided in the first night.
The funniest thing about election night was literally for months they were like, it's not going to, it's going to look bad right away.
I know.
Like for the first night because they're just going to be counting the election day votes. They're not going to be counting the mail-in ballots until much later in certain very important states.
Yes.
And so we all knew this. We all knew this.
We had this information.
Yet election night came and all of America was on their couch just like...
I know, but the thing is, we were all there when this happened to Hillary, and so seeing these states and the initial returns and how much red was initially on the map, it was like, oh, I'm gonna die.
Yes.
I'm going to melt into the floor.
Yes, but you know what I was thinking, like as it was all happening, of course I was devastated and it was just like, how do I go on? I was thinking, I was like, you know what? I've been through this before with less of the, like I know I will survive this. If it happens, it's just going to be another exhausting moment. So I was sort of like in a very quiet, numb place. Whereas opposed to like 4 years ago, I don't even know where I was in the stratosphere. I was literally dying on the couch. He walked in and it was bad.
It was bad.
But this time I was like, okay, this is horrible and I'm devastated, but I'm just gonna be a brick for the next 4 years and not feel emotion. And
yes, and I feel like that is a good plan B. I feel like, yes, that's what we would have had to do. We would have become bricks and feel nothing to deal with this. But it was also like, even though we knew and had, it just was, we went through actual trauma. And that trauma was induced because it was also completely off the table that that person could have beat Hillary Clinton at the time. So the amount of shock that set in is not the worst part of it, but it's what exacerbated it so much in that exact moment. So I thought in the days leading up to this, okay, even if the polls again are wrong and it does not go our way, the idea of this person being president again, I understand what that is. It would be worse in a second term, of course, but I was prepared that it was an option. I wasn't prepared that it was an option in 2016. I really wasn't.
yeah.
So as the night unfolded, as you know, we were watching CNN, so our map man was John King.
Yes.
And as he kept repeating, and I felt bad for both him and whoever the guy they're in love with.
Blitzer?
Well, no, they seem to hate each other. But the MSNBC guy Kornacki, I felt bad because it's like they've been there since this lasted like 3.5 days. They were just up at that map, not sleeping for 3.5 days and having to say essentially the same things over and over.
I know they had to vamp.
They had to vamp. And as soon as John King was like, well, as you know, in these states of like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, they're counting the mail-in ballots last. And I was like, oh, well then what are we even doing here? Like, what are we even watching? Like, this isn't real. Like, that was the moment when I was like, oh, this is all going to flip. I didn't anticipate I mean, we can discuss it more in detail, but I did not anticipate that my home state of Georgia was even on the table. And it's just like, give Stacey Abrams and her team whatever responsibilities they want in this new administration. Give Stacey Abrams a seat in the cabinet if she wants. If she doesn't, if she wants to focus on something else, ask her what she wants.
What does she want?
Because
give it to her.
My God. I didn't think I would live to see a day in which Georgia turned blue. And like, who knows, maybe it'll slide back, but like the fact that Georgia's now on the table in a presidential map is unbelievable.
This to me is the most moving part of the election for me. The whole Georgia situation that it's turning blue, because so many people try to say like, oh, the Democratic Party has become just the party of the elites, the Hollywood elites, the coastal elites, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that is not true in the slightest. The key demographic of the Democratic Party are black voters. Well, voters of color in general, but specifically black voters, specifically black women. Black women are the most loyal, dedicated Democratic voters of all of them, and the fact that we now have a black woman vice president is just so fitting. It is why everyone was so insistent, you know, including the whole Black Lives Matter movement that has been happening. That was a huge reason why people were like, Joe, you got to pick a black woman.
Exactly. Period.
Because they need their seat at the table. Because for decades they have been the most loyal Democrat. They have been the voice of the Democratic Party.
Right.
And so that's why it's so wonderful that A, Kamala Harris is the vice president, and B, Georgia. Like Georgia. And in 2016 and in the 2020, both those primaries, there were certain voters who were insistent that we shouldn't care or take into consideration the voices of the southern states, the voices of the Democratic voters in the southern states.
It's like we need to be working on working class, like middle America people, which is like, what are you saying? What words are you saying? Because what it sounds like is we need to stop focusing on black people, and that's, you're completely missing the point.
And that's just ridiculous. It's
insane.
It's just ridiculous, because you need a president that can speak to the entire country. So you shouldn't, even if you don't think you are going to win these southern states, even if you know that will be so hard to do, you still need to appeal to them, because because you need to get as many voters out as you possibly can.
Yes.
And that's what Georgia did. And Georgia proved that these southern states, which I never thought in my lifetime would ever turn blue again, that these southern states can be in play.
Absolutely.
If you give them the chance to have their voice heard, which is why the majesty and the magic work of Stacey Abrams and her organization to get people in Georgia the chance to vote.
And she supposedly got 800,000 people registered to vote.
Incredible.
It's just like unbelievable.
Like, when you fight the voter suppression that happens in these states, more people can vote. And good things can happen, and their voices can finally be heard.
Because it's like, people are so quick to say that these states are completely red because of X, Y, Z. It's like, no, they're voter suppressed. That people have spent their entire careers gerrymandering and making sure that people of color and people on the blue side do not get their voices heard, and having one fucking ballot box in their county versus an affluent white neighborhood that is more Republican.
Versus like our neighborhood in Los Angeles, we have 3 polling stations in our neighborhood. I literally walked in and walked out.
It's crazy. It's just like, so much energy and time has been put into suppressing this vote, because if, like we should do, the Electoral College was abolished, there would be no shot of a Republican president in the foreseeable future. We're now talking gaps in popularity of 4 million Americans, which is why it's so crazy when people point out that map and they're like, oh, but there's so much red here, how did we not win? It's like, the best thing I've seen is that gif of them being like, all right, this is the map of just the land. Let's show the map of the actual people, and where people vote, land doesn't vote. That makes the most sense to me. I am all about, and maybe I've just become radicalized recently, but I am all about abolishing the Electoral College, which is all about just slavery and making sure that white voices get heard over the voices of color. I am all about packing the fucking Supreme Court, which is why it's important that we'll put links below, but you have to donate to Fair Fight, which is an organization that is going to be sponsoring the Georgia runoffs that are going to decide who has control of the Senate. There are 2 runoffs in Georgia. If you can phone bank, if you can donate, do what you can. We'll put links below because these runoffs will make all the difference to just show how much Joe Biden and Kamala Harris can actually do during their first 4 years.
Yes.
And we have to make sure that they can do as much as they can.
Because this is the first new presidency out of the 4 new presidencies where they wouldn't have the House and possibly the Senate.
Right.
So yeah, we need to do well in those runoffs. I would say my biggest argument against the well, first of all, I'm all about making Puerto Rico a state.
Oh, yes?
All about that.
10 out of 10.
People say that the Electoral College is needed because if it wasn't there, then only certain states would pick the president. But with the Electoral College, only certain states pick the president. Presidents only go and campaign in Ohio, in Florida. Everything is determined by these swing states.
Yes.
And that's completely not fair to the people in Mississippi. The people in Mississippi deserve to have a Democratic presidential candidate go to Mississippi and campaign to the people of Mississippi. And to play devil's advocate, the Republican candidates need to be able to have the chance to go to California and campaign to the people.
Yeah, go to Orange County, see those people. Have fun, girl.
So I think that is a very valid argument that both sides can agree on.
Because you are the representative of the entire nation, so you shouldn't be campaigning just in the particular states in which you know it's going to come down to. And I just can't believe this happened. I just am over the moon. I can't get my thoughts out, but it was this past 4 years, if there's been any good thing, there are things to remember about it. The youth vote is unbelievable. The fact that Gen Z, as a millennial, they talk shit about us. They say that we care more about our Harry Potter house than the actual house in this country, and they might be right. But Gen Z came out full force. I think all of those numbers are up. We cannot discount the fact that Arizona may be turning blue. It hasn't been blue since 1996, I believe.
1996.
Yes, and because Georgia hasn't been blue since 1992. But I think that is super amazing, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that Donald Trump made part of his career out of attacking John McCain. And, Cindy McCain came out, and, as much as I'm not a Meghan McCain fan, Cindy came out and said, I'm voting for Joe Biden. Because, which is obvious, which is hey, Ted Cruz, remember when he called your wife ugly and you're still up his ass? Grow some balls. How can you look at this person and try to convince people to vote for him when he has publicly attacked you? And Cindy McCain is yeah, fuck that. And that whole state has more respect for her than for the former president, and we love it. We love to see it.
And honestly, it is a little frustrating because all the Cindy McCains of it all, and it's where was this energy in 2016? But
of course,
why were you not making these announcements in 2016?
Yes.
But I'm glad it's happening now.
Absolutely.
I am glad that voter turnout was very high. Again, it's also where were all of you in 2016? But
it's also, just terrifying to see that we love that voter, that it was a high vote all around, but the fact that after these 4 years, 70 million people voted for that person again, and that a larger percentage of white women voted for him this time?
I don't know if those demographics were just election day polls.
Okay, so yes, we'll keep an eye out on those numbers, but if that 55% number is true, it's just terrifying, the idea that a larger percentage after those 4 years, and it's are you really going to excuse so much? So much?
For now, I'm not thinking about it.
You're right. It's time to celebrate.
He is very loud, and people love a loud person who makes them feel tough. And I think I'm not thinking about
that. Yeah, you should. I guess this is right. It's right. So today is a day of celebration.
Let's focus on Georgia, getting those runoffs, and then after both the Senate candidates win in Georgia, then we will have control of the Senate, and Kamala Harris will be the deciding vote as vice president, and great things will be able to be accomplished. in these 4 years.
Yeah, so look at the links below because I'm so all in about this because if we learned
he's from Georgia.
I'm from Georgia, and if we learned nothing from the election that just happened, Georgia's bluer than we all fucking thought it was. So let's do what we can to get out the vote because I don't know how many people are going to be, it's not going to get as much coverage on TV, the Senate runoff elections, obviously. So we have to make sure everyone knows that this is a huge deal and is a game changer for the presidency. So we have to put a lot of work in, starting Monday, not starting today. Today, if you do things that you like to do, if you like to have a sip of champagne, do that. If you like to do cartwheels, do that. If you like to dance, play music, whatever you like to do, celebrate because this is a big win. And I just am so excited to live in a country led by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and
where we literally can just wake up during the day and watch the news and be like, oh, things.
It's not like, oh, another new horrible executive order has been signed. It just is it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
So
it was bad. It was bad.
Excited to wake up from that 4-year nightmare.
It's gonna be nice. I'm not gonna have to think about it. I'm just gonna be like, yes. But wait, just because we're not thinking about it doesn't mean we're not focused.
Of course. That's the thing is I feel like after these years, there's no way I could go back to my 2000 self. Obviously I was a child then, but there's no way I could wipe my passion away now. I just care so much and need things to be good because it's there's so many people coming after us. Don't we want to leave a good country for them? And that was one thing about Joe Biden's speech. I, of course, am not a reach across the aisle kind of bitch. I'm very much fuck them, don't care, but I'm not the president.
Yeah, the president, that's literally the president's job.
And the last president didn't do that. The last president's enemies were California and New York and Philadelphia. There are places within the country he's supposed to be leading that he's oh, terrible place, terrible government over there. And it's just I'm
gonna let them be destroyed during this whole COVID pandemic.
Exactly. Just I'm not doing anything. And so the fact that Joe Biden came out and said, I want to be a president for the people that voted for me as much as the people that didn't vote for me. It just is this. I remember when presidents were like this. I remember when they used to speak like this and I trusted what they were saying.
The frustrating thing about that, I'm sorry, I'm a Hillary stan. The frustrating thing about that is all the news stations are just oh my God, I can't believe he's saying this. It's so wonderful. And it's well, Hillary said the same thing, but it's fine. Why isn't she getting the credit? But it's fine.
No, we all love Hillary, and if there was enough, we were complacent. I think the issue there was complacency.
Everyone
just was so sure she was going to win that maybe she didn't turn out the vote. But after this last 4 years, everyone was energized. And the thing is, which is always what I feel the more people that vote, the more likely we win.
Yeah.
Because it's just, this is the majority thought. It may be closer than I would personally but we've seen time and time again the majority of the people in this country agree with the policies that the Democrats represent. Period. So the fact that Mitch McConnell and his cronies have spent their entire, feels like 300 years on Earth just trying to push our country right by any means necessary. If it takes cheating, pushing through an unqualified Supreme Court justice right as an election's happening, gerrymandering out it's get out of my face. Go fix your hands and stop ruining our country. Done. You know what? I think it's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay.
And this is the first time I felt that way in a long time.
Oh yeah. You went to bed election night.
I did.
And I stayed up. I stayed up and I was okay, I'm gonna go to bed in a little bit. But then as I would start flossing the teeth, something exciting would happen and I'd be oh, Wisconsin? Oh. And I would start brushing my teeth and I'd be okay, it's time for bed, Oh, Michigan? Oh. And so then suddenly it was 5 o'clock in the morning and I was still in front of the television and I hear him come out. And in this time, Wisconsin flipped and Michigan was about to flip and I just turned to him and I was Pat Palmer. I guess you woke up in the middle of the night.
I woke in the middle of the night and I checked and I was wait. And then I heard it's quiet and I was oh, it's on. I should go see. And so I tiptoed out here. We watched quietly.
I know. And then it was, at 6:30 in the morning. And so then I was I need to go to bed.
I was you should go to bed.
I went to bed and I woke up setting my alarm for every 45 minutes so I could still check. And then I woke up. I had gotten literally no sleep. But even though I was exhausted, I still woke up Wednesday morning and I was this is what waking up peacefully feels like.
I know.
Oh,
because it was trending the right way. And it was just this is gonna happen.
But who could have predicted Georgia?
None of us. I was not even considering Georgia. Woo! This is great.
Because this year it's Georgia, in 2022, What state's it gonna be in 2024? What state's it gonna be?
I stand by. Because the thing is, they call Texas early, but you look at those percentages, and you're like, this isn't a world away.
Yeah.
This is not a world away. So, I need more gays to move to Austin or whatever, wherever they're going.
My friend's moving to Austin.
Great.
He's gay.
Well, it's on the right side of history.
All right. The gays are on the right side of history.
A lot of them, not the log cabin ones. We don't. we don't know them either. Well. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
That we love you all.
We love you all.
We can't wait to get all like the Trump supporters in the comments section being like,
hey.
I'm so disappointed. I'm unsubscribing.
It's like, girl, you never subscribed.
You were never subscribed. That's like haters' like go-to thing. It's like, I'm unsubscribing
it's like,
now.
Have fun, sweetie. I mean, we're still getting people mad, Michael Jackson fans mad at us, so we might as well just add to the pile. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Matt Palmer Music.
And it's Matt Steele.
And at 2 Gay Mats for both of us. Listen to our podcast. It comes out every Monday. It's called 2 Gay Mats, TWO. It should appear in any of your podcatchers. You also can become a patron for extra bonus content by going to patreon.com/2gaymats. We love all of you very much. We love Adam Parnell, we love Richard, we love Montana, and we love every single one of you.
Yay, America.
Go America. We love you today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye.